in New York City.
New York.
His parents were Alice Joyner and Harold Joyner, and he had two brothers, Bernard and John, also known as Jack. All right.
Who's the oldest?
Jack is the oldest.
Jack is the oldest.
All right. Harry served in World War II as a medic in the Black Battalion, part of the occupation of Japan. After that, he attended Lincoln University and joined the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Upon completion of his of Lincoln University, he worked as a counselor at a place called Children's Center, right off Fifth Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, right below 59th Street, and that's where he met my mother. And excuse me,
104th Street.
104th Street.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I like that. They have a correct type. You could be on correct type. All right, thank you. All right, and that's what he met my mother. And then they were, married later in Philadelphia, PA, and that marriage produced 5 children and 12 grandchildren. All right, Harry, although he started with the city of New York in the children's department, he eventually worked at a time in the welfare department, correct? And eventually he became to work in the probation department. Well, he stayed with the probation department for a while, but what's interesting is this. During his time as a probation officer, it was a bad time for New York City, overcrowding in schools, the schools were in a bad state. Places for young boys who were having problems in school were not numerous. So they sent you either right to reform school, or if you were of age, you went to jail. My father worked as a program called ATD, Alternatives to Detention. And what this program did was, if you couldn't get along in a regular classroom setting, instead of you getting sent right to reform school, they went to these classes at his center, and what the boys did was they had counseling there, they had schooling there, they had people there who would help them get along while they were in these school settings. The interesting thing is, from that one program, I think they went across the city, to eventually every borough had this type of program. Not one of those kids ended up going to jail.
Woo-hoo! All right, all right.
And not only that, but if I remember correctly, they had 85% graduated high school. Okay, way higher than the city.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah. He went back to school and he got his master's from John Jay College. He got his master's in public administration. This is something that he never talks about, all right? But it's very interesting. My father commuted into the city for years, all right, from Jersey, and constantly complained about the traffic at the GW. And he always complained that there's got to be a better way so that we can get into the city without all this traffic. And he talked about this for years. And what his idea was, Mike, there's got to be a way where they don't have to pay cash and they can just go right in. Well, his thesis, you get your thesis for your master's, right?
Yeah.
His thesis was a program where cars did not have to stop and pay toll.
Wow.
What they would do was you would register your license with the Port Authority, and they would bill you monthly. The people who were working in the toll booths, he said, to protect their jobs, they would then go into the office and be the people who would send out the bills. All right? That sound familiar to anybody?
Fast track.
Yeah,
Fast track.
Easy pass.
Thank you.
Daddy's professor was an executive with the Port Authority.
Whoa.
He was the CEO.
No, he wasn't a CEO. No, he was executive back then. A lot of professors were already working in Fortune 500 or similar corporations. But that program that he developed as his thesis eventually was imitated almost to the T by the Easy Pass people.
All
And
right.
throughout the country, because fast track.
Throughout the Easy Pass, yeah.
Wow, never knew that.
Right.
So you need some residuals.
Granddaddy, you should sue them. I'll help you.
You gotta find that
Had they recognized him, he would not be in this room.
Damn debate here.
It's not, clearly, because I'm not.
It's just a variation on that shit.
So we don't use the word gypped anymore. But
Well, I do.
Keep going.
All right. Well, all right. So we go on. Eventually, Harry got. He retired from New York City. I don't know if you only few of us here. We had a great retirement party. All right. Yes, baby. I got video. All right. And he then retired, went to a calmer life, and he became a member who was more dedicated to the NAACP. NAACP. Okay, I get it mixed up with the NCAA.
Right, organization. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, well, he became the vice president
When they get better
of for Bergen County chapter, and unfortunately, at that time, Teaneck had a shooting of a young fellow by the name of Philip Pinnell by an officer, Officer Staff in Teaneck. Long story short,
Shit never changes.
they tried to march in Teaneck. When I say they, I'm talking about
they.
Sharpton.
Al Sharpton and his team. They tried to march in Teaneck, trying to say we have to bring attention to this to correct this problem in Teaneck. Well, my father and a few other members of the NAACP told him, look, we don't need thank you, but no thank you. We can handle this ourselves. And we were all in the police department when Sharpton was going on and trying to rally some crap going on. And my father basically pushed him aside and said, yo, get out of town. We got this. Thanks, but no thanks. I've never been
you're
proud
my
of
hero.
you in that time, brother. Yeah. That's what Sharpton had to make to him. And it stood out in my mind. But eventually he and my mom settled down to a calmer life, and it's just funny because all the people.
Really? It was calmer?
Well, it's a positive program here, Tony. I just want to say thank you all for coming this evening. It does my heart good, and I know my dad loves all of y'all, and you love him. It's just such a great thing that we're here for a positive thing, like Evie was saying later, or Patty was saying earlier, that it's a positive thing. But thank you all, and that's it.